Kitty, and time now for our first televised race of the afternoon out there at the farm, where the AJC have named their events, I notice, after famous Australian poets. This is the Henry Kendall Handicap, and I seem to recall, Tappy, that it was old Henry who wrote that great poem, The Bellbirds.
It certainly was, Mike, and it's quite eerie, really, to relive the great days of some of these wonderful men of Australian history and tradition. The previous race, of course, was the Banjo Patterson Handicap, and I think that certainly reaches all of us, that magic name. The Henry Kendall is a good race. It's over the hurry-scurry course of 1,000 metres. Old Manuan is by far the most prolific prize money earner. He's won about $358,000, and he'll be charging home at the end. Let's go down to Ray Hadley now and check the wind tote on the race.
Thanks, Tappy. In fact, Manuan is one of the best backed. 6s into 5s in the ring. Fine Offer at 13-2. Manuan at 9-2. Yellow Prince at 6-1. Mirror Jack 11s. Carrioy Prince is well supported at 5-2. Valencia at 9-1. Axiomatic at 20s. Osaka at 9-2. And the bottom one, Tappy, Miss Polygamy at 80-1. John, there have been reports all week that your second selection here, Osaka, will be a different horse this time in. He certainly will. He's come back a gelding.
Yes, Ray, he always had plenty of ability, but last time in, according to Theo Green, he simply wasn't doing his best and putting his mind on the job. So he made a quick visit to the surgeon, and he's come back, well, he's certainly lighter, if nothing else. Osaka, he's a chestnut by Crown Jester out of Shea Bisque. What a great little mare she was, Shea Bisque. In fact, this bloke carries the same colours as Shea Bisque: white tartan sleeves, tartan cap. Now, Balancia, in very conspicuous pale green and candy pink colours, has moved up on the outside of the field. They'll absolutely fly in this race. Real speedsters. Fine Offer is a New Zealand galloper, now trained by Darby Armstrong. The gates open, they're off and running, and Manuan and Fine Offer are both slow to move, and Miss Polygamy went straight back to the tail. Carrioy Prince bounded out in front at the start, beginning very smartly. Mirror Jack is one of the leaders. Axiomatic right up there with them, and now Yellow Prince is scooting along the inside rail to join them. Osaka settles about 5th, right on the wheel of the leaders. At the head of the others then, hard-ridden Fine Offer, followed by Balancia, Manuan on the outside, and Miss Polygamy can't stay in touch. To the turn they race, and Yellow Prince with the inside running shares the lead with Carrioy Prince, and they turn together. Mirror Jack is dropping out of it. Manuan's off the track on the turn, but I'll tell you what, he's within striking distance of the leaders, and Fine Offer getting a rails run as they turn, flattening for the run home. Look at the rails run coming Fine Offer's way. Fine Offer scooting right up on the fence, has grabbed the lead. Manuan down the outside. Fine Offer and Manuan are going to fight it out. Manuan takes the lead. Oh, the old boy's back to his best, and Tony Marnie goes for the double as Manuan races away to score a brilliant win. Manuan beat Fine Offer. Osaka 3rd, and then Balancia. Carrioy Prince weakened out of it, so did Yellow Prince. Mirror Jack well back, followed by Axiomatic, and last of all Miss Polygamy. What a great old horse he's been. He had to race well today to earn yet another trip to Brisbane, but he'll certainly head north now. He races well in Brisbane. In fact, he ran second one year in the Elders and ran plenty of good races. He won a race up there called the Ansett Cup a couple of years back. He's been a mighty old horse for his trainer and part owner, Noel Daly. The other part owners are P and Mrs. J. O'Grady, and MB and P. Foley. Tony Marnie's notched a winning double here at Warwick Farm today because he won a race earlier for the Jack Denham stable on the filly Orweena. There's Manuan. Fine Offer looked like winning when he came from about 3rd last without going around a horse. He got right along the fence, drew level with Manuan, but in the last 80 metres, the old boy from Warwick Farm, Manuan, loving every inch of his home track, raced away and scored an easy win. He's by Corio out of Melusine. He is a rising 9-year-old. He had $358,000 in kitty before today's race. Today he picks up another 10 grand. So a money spinner, I'll tell a man he is. Numbers are 219, Manuan, Fine Offer, and Osaka is the official 3rd. The next is the Will Ogilvie Handicap at 25-4. Let's pick up Kenny Callender's thoughts on the race.
Peter Cook's Mount C Dynasty is by far the biggest tip of the day here at Warwick Farm. It's TAB number 8, and if any bookmaker dares put up even money, it'll be like the charge of the Light Brigade with the punters pouring all over him. Well, I think C Dynasty's got a great chance, but I don't fancy laying odds on him. At his last start at Randwick, he was a good thing beaten, and he finished an excellent 2nd. But in the same race, I thought that a horse called Dark Reflection, who finished 3rd, also handed in a good run. And I think that Dark Reflection Reflection's got a good chance of beating Sea Dynasty. I reckon Dark Reflection each way. What do I mean each way? That's the coward's way out. You should never beat each way. You're admitting defeat before you start. I think if you back Dark Reflection, you're getting a bit of value, and I think he's got a hell of a good chance of knocking over the hot pot. Johnny, I'm putting mine on Dark Reflection.
OK, Ken, yes, from the Ray Guy stable, Dark Reflection, and he's a dead-set improver. OK, we'll be back at about 25 to 4 with the Will Ogilvie Handicap live from Sydney's Rural Raceway at Warwick Farm. Thanks, Mike.
Thanks, Johnny. There he is, old Manuel, and he certainly pays for his oats. All right, hang about here on Wide World of Sports. We've got almost 3 hours still to go, and here's just a taste of what's in store. On the card, the Will H. Ogilvie Handicap, and for the punters, Johnny, let's hope where there's a will, there's a way.
Fair enough, Mike. Will H. Ogilvie, the H, of course, is for Henry. Must have been a remarkable man. He was born in Scotland. He came to Australia in 1889. He spent about 27 years here. He went back to Scotland, where he lived to the ripe old age of 94. Some of his best-known works whilst here in Australia included one piece that might show some affiliation with racing. It was called Fair Girls and Grey Horses. Ray Hadley, the race is named in dear old Will's honour. What do you got favourite?
Well, Tabby, let's start from the top firstly. French Legion at 7 to 2, Atatari at 16 to 1, Move Closer 8 to 1, Dark Reflection at 8 to 1, Hit It Again at 16s, Investor at 40s. The favourite Sea Dynasty, John, even money on the tote, but 10 to 9 on in the ring. Miss Tense 200s, Alextra 25s, Queen Rum at 200, Peaceful Kingdom 100, Douglas at 33s, and Koyama at 100 to 1. Well, Tappy, I've had a look at the replay a number of times of the effort of Sea Dynasty at Randwick, and I've got my doubts whether the horse will handle the Warwick Farm circuit, and he's certainly not value at 10 to 9 on in the ring.
No, that's the big thing against him, Ray. He's a big, awkward customer. Really awkward. In fact, he looked all at sea at Randwick the other day, so he's bound to have trouble with Warwick Farm. But the one thing that's going to help is boundless ability. Jim Cassidy rides French Legion, and Ray spoke with him earlier.
Well, Jim, the horse goes up rather sharply in the weights for its last start win at Rose Hill.
He does, Ray. His work since Rose Hill's been good, and you know, I think he's certainly strong enough to carry the 55 and a half, and a bit of good luck in the running. He's probably going to be right in it.
Well, not only does the horse have to contend with 55 and a half, he's got to contend with the mile.
I don't think the mile's going to be any disadvantage to him at this stage of his preparation, and you know, if the mile is beyond him, he's certainly going to benefit from it.
Jim Cassidy, who rides French Legion in the race. Cassidy won on Francette in an earlier race today, so he's looking for the double. So far, after 5 races, riding honours are held by Tony Marnie with a double on Orweena and Manuel in the previous event. Now, they're all in with the exception of Sea Dynasty, a beautifully bred son of Sea Anchor. Sea Anchor won fame in Australia as the sire of the great Red Anchor, himself at stud. Currently, and another good galloper, namely Beechcraft, which carried the Sangster colours, was also by Sea Anchor. Now, he's a long-legged, long-barrel sort of a horse, Sea Dynasty. Peter Cook has the mount today, replacing Gavin Duffy, who rode him when he looked an absolute world certainty beaten at Randwick on Anzac Day, and the race won by Ancient Mariner. Now, Sea Dynasty moves in, Peaceful Kingdom a little bit fidgety, Douglas stands up well. Move Closer has the coveted number 1 gate. Very dark and cloudy at Warwick Farm, but there's been no rain since racing began. They're off now, and Peaceful Kingdom made a mess of the start. Sea Dynasty jumped only fairly, and bouncing out in front, Koyama. Investor fast away, Move Closer prominently placed, and so is Alextra. And Dark Reflection not far away on settling down, and Sea Dynasty is sweeping right around the outside. Going with them is French Legion, and boy, oh boy, they're like fleas on a dog's back in the early stages. Cook on Sea Dynasty elected to whip right around the field, and he's going to allow the big colt to go to the front now, and Sea Dynasty took a narrow lead over Alextra in the run to the top turn. French Legion third, and then Move Closer, followed by Queen Rum, Investor, Koyama. On the fence, Douglas, and further back is Hit It Again, followed by Peaceful Kingdom, and then Dark Reflection and Atatari, and last of all, Miss Tense. Around the top bend with about 900 to go, and it's Sea Dynasty on the outside, just shading Alextra. French Legion is camped right on top of them, and then Move Closer on the outside of Douglas. Investor going up 3 deep, followed by Hit It Again. Further back, Queen Rum, Dark Reflection, Reflection awkwardly placed as cluttered up between horses. Then Peaceful Kingdom, Koyama from Adatari, and Miss Tense is last at the 600 now. And gee, the standing room only. Alextra just led from Sea Dynasty. 3 deep is French Legion. 4 deep is Investor going right around the outside of the field. Hit it again, coming into it, followed by Move Closer, and then Douglas and Dark Reflection. Sea Dynasty's the first beaten. He's made too much use of him early. Into the straight now, Alextra and French Legion are the 2 leaders. Investor and further out, hit it again, and Dark Reflection is coming out of the ruck. Alextra and French Legion battling it out. Here comes Dark Reflection. Further out, Investor and hit it again. I don't know where to look. They're all over the place. French Legion put his head in front. Adatari bursting through on the inside. Adatari, French Legion. Adatari did best. Adatari beat French Legion. Third, Dark Reflection. And then Peaceful Kingdom, a pretty good run, followed by Alextra, hit it again. Move Closer, Investor, a good effort, covered a lot of ground, followed by Miss Tense, Koyama, and then Douglas, Sea Dynasty well back. The early effort told the tale, and last of all is Queen Rum. Adatari has come with a wet sail, about 4 horses off the fence just when French Legion was being hailed the winner. Adatari burst through on his inside, grabbed the lead, and has won by about a long head or a half neck on the line. Adatari ridden by Malcolm Johnston, trained by Dr. Jeff Chapman, and is by Luskin Star out of a mare called Far Better. He ran 5th at Randwick in the race won by Ancient Mariner the other day. That's the race in which Sea Dynasty ran 2nd and Dark Reflection ran 3rd. So there's obviously very little between this particular crop of horses. Adatari had disappointed before that in the Champagne Stakes, but that of course was a much classier event. Adatari appreciated the 1600 and scored a good win. Mal Johnston, the winning rider. French Legion will get 2nd. I think Dark Reflection will be 3rd. Now, the next on the agenda is the Adam Lindsay Gordon handicap due at 10 minutes after 4. Ken Callender with his thoughts on that event.
In race 7, I like the Tommy Smith trained Picata to be ridden by Noel Barker. Now, Picata really relishes a wet track. The wetter, the better. If it's a little bit dead, he likes it. If it's slow, he loves it. And if it gets even heavier, well, he absolutely relishes it. At his last start, Picata was a shade disappointing, but he was racing outside the leader that day, and he started to pull a bit hard. Today, he's got Market Report to set a fast pace, and I think you'll find that Picata will settle a lot better, and he'll produce the form that saw him successful at his previous 2 starts at Randwick. TJ for the cash in the second leg of the Darley Double. Picata.
OK, Picata beautifully drawn at the barrier and well suited by the conditions of the race. OK, just watching the favourite come back to scale, Sea Dynasty, and I'm not suggesting for one moment that this had any effect on his performance, Mike. There's a little bit of blood in his mouth as he comes back. He looks as though he might have banged his head on the starting gate and loosened a tooth, or he may have bitten his tongue.
Well, there's many a time I wish I'd done that myself. All right, hang about. We'll be back in a moment. Warwick Farm, where they're getting ready for the Adam Lindsay Gordon Welter. Your caller, Johnny Tapp.
Thank you, Mike. And again, live from Warwick Farm Racecourse for the race named after a remarkable man who had a very short lifespan, of course, the legendary Adam Lindsay Gordon. He suicided in 1870 after a failure to claim the barony of Esselmont in Scotland and severe financial problems, apparently, at that time. But, gee, he left a grand legacy in Australian literature and poetry, and it's a name that will live long. It certainly will. The Adam Lindsay Gordon, 1,400 metres, and this is run under welter conditions. Let's go down to Ray now in the mounting yard and see what his tote board says.
Thanks, Tappy. Your knowledge of poets is quite surprising. It's making me think you probably majored in poetry at Rockdale Public a few years back. Jack's at 25-1, John. Capilano 13-2. Market Report at 12-1. My Day at 100. Picata at 7-2. John Dye 13-2. Zephyr Ace at 20s. Now down to Indentation at 20-1. Max Treasure at 9-2. Mr. Squiggles at 9-1. Mustaway 10s. Santaniaco 66. Drum Rum 33s and Patch Yacht at 80-1. So Tappy in a wide market. Picata the favourite at 7-2.
He loves the sting out of the ground, Picata, and his failure at Randwick recently wasn't as bad as it may have first appeared, because another horse took him on in front and he wilted only in the last 40 or 50 metres. Club's colours in this race coming up, all pink on number 16, Patch Yacht. Young Craig Carmody, I think the most improved apprentice in Sydney at the moment, has the mount on Capilano, and Ray spoke with that lad earlier.
Well, Craig, you must have been impressed with Capilano last start at Rose Hill.
Yes, I was very impressed with his run. He got a lovely run on the fence, and just coming around the corner, I got the split between the two leaders, and all bar the last 20 yards, he was going to win the race. So if he puts up that performance, he's got to be a great chance in the race.
Well, as you say, he loomed up to win probably 100 to go, and this race is 100 metres shorter, so that'll definitely suit the horse.
Yes, that's right.
OK, starter on his stand, hits the button, the gates fly open and they're off and running, and it looked a pretty good start towards the outside, beginning very smartly and looking for the early leaders. Jacks, John Dye is driving through towards them in the early part. Market Report is not far away, showing plenty of pace, and right up there with them on the extreme outside in the early stages of the race is Mr. Squiggles, followed by Santaniaco, and Tavros is not very far away. As they settle properly, 1,000 metres left to go. Market Report and Jacks are sharing the lead with John Dye, and then Zephyr Ace, and right behind that leading bunch is Picata, ridden off the pace today. Max Treasure trapped out pretty deep as they near the home turn. Back behind those Mr. Squiggles, and then Must Away, Capilano, Pat's Yacht and Santaniaco on the stayer. My Day last of all. It's Market Report, Jackson, John Dye going hammer and tongs as they near the turn. Now close handy as they come up to the corner is Picata, who's jammed away between horses. On the fence then Zephyr Ace, Max Treasure and Mr. Squiggles, and then Must Away, an indentation as they turn. By gee, they're tightly packed on the corner. It's John Dye, Market Report and Jackson. They come around the bend together. Picata's easing to the outside as they turn for home, and Must Away getting a rails run in the straight 250 out. Must Away got through near the fence to join John Dye. Further out Picata, and Max Treasure now storming down the middle of the track. He'll win. Max Treasure grabs the lead 100 metres out, and he's coming right away to win. The going's a mile better out there, and Max Treasure right on top of the ground came away to win easily over Must Away. Picata third, fourth Mr. Squiggles, and then Jackson, John Dye, Market Report, well back in the field, indentation, My Day, and then Capilano, Santaniaco, Zephyr Ace back with the tail enders, and then Pat's Yacht, and Drum Rum beat about 4 home. Jay Cassidy rode that winner Max Treasure for the Mickey Hood stable, and Max Treasure by Bless Me out of Hidden Treasure, raced by Mr. and Mrs. Ian McIntosh. Hidden Treasure's been a good producing mare, and the McIntosh family had another good galloper out of the same mare a few seasons back, namely Scott's Treasure. Cassidy's been getting wide all day at Warwick Farm. In fact, he woke to it very, very early in the piece. And it was on his first winner today, Francette, that he got out 4 and 5 horses deep and just continued to drift off the track down the running. And the wider they get, the better it seems to be. Strangely, very few other jockeys seem to be adopting the same tactics. I don't know, this bloke's just... It doesn't matter what he does, it's the right thing at the moment. Max Treasure number 10 is going to pay $2.80 and $1.05. Cassidy is a mile in front in the current Jockeys Premiership here in Sydney, and he's got it all parcelled up. One to go now, the last of the day, and Ken Callender with his thoughts on that.
At Canterbury on Wednesday, I stopped being a bookie for one race and put my cash on Like a Topic. Lo and behold, I wish I'd have kept bookmaking, because Like a Topic was beaten in a photo finish. But today, I think the filly will win here at Warwick Farm. She's TAB number 5. She'll be ridden by John Duggan, and I think that hard run at Randwick will just top her off nicely. Don't worry about the slow track. That'll all be in her favour. And like most TJ Smith horses, you'll find that Like a Topic gets better with racing. She's not at super value, but I think she'll be first home, and that's what counts.
Yeah, Johnny Duggan rides Ken's pick Like a Topic in the final event of the day at Warwick Farm. That's the Henry Lawson handicap, and it's due at 4:45 now. Full numbers are in the frame after race 7, 10, 12 and 5. Max Treasure, the winner, Jay Cassidy. Number 12, Must Away, second. G. Doherty got an inside run on the turn, but then just seemed to get anchored over the last 70 or 80 metres. And third, number 5, and that was Picata, which had every possible hope. Noel Barker got out well away from the fence on the turn into the straight. He made the bend 6 or 7 horses off the rail. So, really hard to find an excuse for Picata. But, Mike, I've only got one question. How are you going to beat this bloke, Jay Cassidy? He'd win on a billy cart.
No doubt about him. They call him Hopalong, they call him Butch. Call him what you like. He's in great form, JT. You hang about. We'll be back in a tick to pick up the action as the crafty Cockney battles it out with Dave Whitcomb in the World Professional Darts Championship. There'll be a few punters reaching for the bottle.
Yeah, that's right, Mike. Well, I certainly can't blame him for not minding a drink. I think that applies to most of us, particularly a bloke born in the bush in the west of New South Wales. Henry Lawson was born in the beautiful little western township of Grenfell, and he was the man who became loved and well known as the people's poet. Here's another poet with a bit of verse about the totes on this last race, Ray Hadley.
Well, there's nothing rhyming here, Tabby. 7-2, Farris King, Presenter at 5-2, On Leave at 7-2. Prince of Jazz at 12 to 1, Like a Topic at 4s, Born to Sing at 14s, Little Pike 80s. Now 25 to 1, Midnight Curfew, Sand and Dust at 40s, Read My Palm 200 to 1, Sonora Fine is 100 to 1. 33 to 1, Winning Spirit. Maxwell at 100 to 1, Premier Pride 33s, and Write Your Own Price about Prince on Parade. Henry Lawson Tappy, one of my best pieces as far as I'm concerned that he wrote, was on the track and over the slip rail.
I'll say. Yes, he was a beauty, old Henry, and as Mike said, he eventually succumbed to the devil's brew and spent his latter years in ill health as a result of it. Now, the last in is Little Pike, ridden by Brian Wood. Brian is based at Warwick Farm, rides a lot of track work here, and is a great help to the local trainers. Peter Cook on Prince of Jazz. Prince on Parade is the inside runner. Traffic whizzing by over there along the Hume Highway, adjacent to the starting gates, and they're off and running. Ferris King didn't begin well, and neither did Like a Topic, and they're both well back in the early stages. Like a Topic got chopped out, in fact. Sonora Fine bounded out in front and led over Pre-Centaur, followed by Prince of Jazz, Sand and Dust, and right up there with them in the early part, showing plenty of early paces on Leave, and not far away on settling Midnight Curfew. Winning Spirit is about midfield, and then Born to Sing, followed by Premier Pride. Read My Palm is a long way back, and then Maxwell at the head of the others. Ferris King, Like a Topic is second last, and Prince on Parade whip them in. They're well strung out, and these leaders are going lickety split at the 1,000 mark. Sonora Fine is the leader. Pre-Centaur looking pretty cosy in second spot, and 2 lengths away third, Sand and Dust. About 4 to Prince of Jazz on the outside of Midnight Curfew, and then on Leave and Winning Spirit, Born to Sing, Premier Pride, Maxwell. Ferris King is a long way back in the field at that stage. Like a Topic's job looks almost impossible. Little Pike is second last, and Prince on Parade is last of all as they near the 600 mark. Sonora Fine just in front of Pre-Centaur, about to grab it. 2 lengths away, Sand and Dust under pressure, and then Prince of Jazz, Midnight Curfew, Maxwell on Leave, Born to Sing. Further back, Premier Pride, Winning Spirit, and Like a Topic right around the outside, but she'll have to do a hell of a job to win. Into the straight, Pre-Centaur has gone up now to tackle the other one as they turn for home. Maxwell getting a rails run. Midnight Curfew pounced on the outside. Maxwell, aided by the rails run, reached the lead. Midnight Curfew grabs him now. Maxwell is running about under pressure. They might have bumped momentarily. Midnight Curfew, and look at Ferris King. Ferris King is absolutely jumping out of the ground. He swallows up the leaders, and boy, was that a win. Ferris King has come from an impossible position to beat Midnight Curfew. Maxwell third after looking the winner in the straight, aided by a freak inside run, and then Prince of Jazz on Leave, Born to Sing, Winning Spirit. Further back, Sand and Dust and Little Pike, Like a Topic. A long way back, Prince on Parade, Premier Pride, Read My Palm. Pre-Centaur weakened very badly to run second last, and last of all, the early leader, Sonora Fine. Boy, gee, this horse has improved, hasn't it? Ferris King now makes it 2 on the trot, and I think 3 from his last 5. There were doubts as to whether Warwick Farm was his track, because he's a horse who simply has to get back and settle down, and he can produce a whirlwind finish. The short Warwick Farm straight looked unsuitable on paper, but he was able to overcome that difficulty, that obstacle, and he finished with a magnificent burst in the last 100 metres to snatch victory going away. Ridden by little Brad Parnell, trained at Rose Hill by Ray Guy, whose horses are really firing at the moment, and Ferris King is by the former good galloper Gypsy Kingdom out of a mare called Farristan. And look at him come home in the last bit. Midnight Curfew and Maxwell were fighting it out, but Ferris King just swamped them and scored a brilliant win. The numbers are 1, 9, 15. Ferris King, Midnight Curfew, and Maxwell. Maxwell just came from nowhere at the top of the straight. He went right along the fence to grab the lead, and I must be truthful, for one horrible second I thought, what the hell is this? Maxwell, 1, 9 and 15. The winner, $2.10 and 90 on the New South Wales TAB. Midnight Curfew, $2.85, and Maxwell on the place tote showing $8. He was 100 to 1 pop, Maxwell. Live racing today brought to you with the compliments of Tui's on Wide World of Sports. Hope you backed a few winners. Back to Mike Gibson.
Good on you, Johnny, and you stay with us. We'll be back in a moment for more spectacular action in the World Whitewater Canoeing Championships.